Um, well, I guess this was supposed to be a larger broadcast, but I think everybody kind of forgot
Part-timers.
that we were gonna go on tonight. But whatever. Got Alan, myself, Adam here to do a little quick throw in. Just because Alan, there's really like a shit ton of stuff to talk about,
It's
and
it's coming fast, yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I guess we should probably not go almost an hour like we did last time when it was you and I. But let's go ahead and jump into it because, like we said, there's so much stuff to talk about ahead of a really busy weekend. Um,
For real, yeah.
we got the first of two consecutive double headers coming up, which is crazy.
Ooh.
That's never happened before. Um, and it's
I'm pretty sure the club didn't want that either, but,
no.
just things worked out that way.
But yeah, I mean, but speaking of the way things work out, the way things have worked out, the way things have kind of transpired over this past week and a half, it
Yeah,
is really setting up one of the bigger city weekends that we've seen. I don't know, since a couple weeks ago, probably, because it seems like there's a lot of big weekends coming up. But Alan, let's kind of rewind things a little bit though, and talk about what happened last night with the Detroit City women's side. 0-0, Cleveland. Um, Another one of those hard fought matches like we saw a couple weeks ago in Kalamazoo. Luckily, the stream was a little bit better this time, so we could kind of take it in a little bit more.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
but again, I kind of mentioned it to you in our chat last night. And I think it was that match that you and I were kind of talking about, um, again, a few weeks back. Cleveland Force, not really a great team. I think they sit, what, second to last in the Great Lakes division. But from what I can remember, the last time that we played them, it was another one of those matches where City seemed to dominate, but just couldn't convert. They couldn't
Yep,
finish, which
yep.
is seems like the same thing that we saw last night. What were your thoughts on
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
what happened last night?
that's a good way to put it because, throughout that game, uh, Cleveland, uh, was absorbing just tons of pressure. Uh, they were getting done on the defensive end, and their goalkeeper made, I don't know, 10 saves or something like that, and was just getting absolutely peppered. I think we needed to be a little bit more crafty in terms of what we were trying to put on net, but it wasn't like we weren't firing on all cylinders. I mean, the the attacking players were getting behind, you know, just like barreling up the center of the pitch, getting chances, and just nothing wanted to go in. It's just one of those days.
Um, and this is the thing, like with Tears City's women's side, like last night in particular, like they didn't take the gas off the pedal. I mean, the second half was more dangerous for Cleveland than the first half was. And you would think, and that's a good sign in my opinion. I mean, you'd think that a team would get frustrated. They have the first half that they had. They weren't converting, they weren't finishing. So the second half comes around and they're frustrated. It gets to them a little bit and they kind of take the foot off the gas pedal. And Cleveland comes in and, potentially gets a little more dangerous themselves and, gets a fluky, you know, goal to go ahead. But that's not what happened. I
Uh-uh.
mean, second half was still incredibly dangerous for City, but like we said, they just couldn't do anything with it. They couldn't convert. They couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. They couldn't get that go ahead goal to get them out of Cleveland with all 3 points. Joelle Washington, who was supposed to be on last year's team, but never things never transpired. She never actually set foot on the pitch for City last year, made her debut last night, and by all accounts was really, really good. I heard from people at the match who had a better view than we did, trying to take in that that stream from the press box. Then it sounds like she should have had a hat trick in the first half. So I don't know how much she's going to play um, moving forward, but again, I mean, this City squad, despite the firepower that they do have, there's, I guess, always room for a little bit more.
Yeah, Kayla Addison had, at least a couple one-on-ones with the forced goalkeeper,
Mhm.
and some of those saves were like world class.
Yeah.
And so like I would be upset if City went in there and just half-assed it, figuring that Cleveland Forest is not, hasn't done very well this season per the scoreboard, But no, I mean that I don't know what else that Dave Dwayne could have done in terms of trying to get that little bit more that seemed to be needed. Uh, but sometimes that's just how it rolls, and I can't really put anything on the women to say that it was a disappointing performance, because I don't think it was. I think it was a very solid performance, and it didn't result in a goal. Uh, and I think it was a shock result not scoring there, uh, given how Cleveland had done to this point. But then we got a shock result tonight, so I think that takes the heat off of us a little bit. Uh, you want me to
Well,
roll that
let's
out?
yeah, let's talk about that a little bit heading into the weekend
Yes.
against Midwest United. So, Alan, kind of recap what happened. I know Garrett's going to be dropping something a little bit
Yeah,
later,
yeah.
but what
Yeah, just
what
quick. Just,
yeah.
you know, basically, Kalamazoo beat Midwest United, and so I think that counts as a shock result. Uh, so now it's a three-way race at the top of the table,
Yep.
uh, with Cleveland and with Kalamazoo and Detroit City, then followed by Midwest United. But I think at this point in the season, with only for most clubs 5 games left, some less, like Kalamazoo, I think they've only got 3 more games. Uh, every result is crucial, and what could be more crucial than the game that we play on Saturday, which is Detroit City versus Midwest United at Keyworth.
Yeah, we have I mean, like you mentioned, we have Midwest United coming up this Saturday. The second part of the doubleheader, the men playing at 4 o'clock against Charleston Battery. Then they go on the road to take on Michiana, which was supposed to be that home match coming up midweek, but that got moved due to some scheduling conflicts. So they do have Michiana in the middle of the week there to pick up some points, pick up some goals, um, before they come back home next Saturday for another massive game against Kalamazoo FC before they go on the road again to take on Midwest United and then finish off the regular season against Ann Arbor in Ann Arbor. This weekend though, Alan, against Midwest United, massive, massive game. Midwest coming in off that tough loss tonight against Kalamazoo, so you know that they're going to. I mean, essentially, these are must-win games at this point between
Right.
these three teams.
Right.
Um, so City has a must-win game. Midwest United has a must-win game, and not only that, but this is a game that City needs to get over that hump. They need to get over
Right.
that Midwest United hump. Since City has been in this, since City has fielded a women's side, whether
Right.
it be a one
So
or a two
over two
side,
different leagues.
yeah, they've never been able to beat Midwest United. Um, I'm sure all City fans remember Vinnie Bell with Cleveland. There is one player in particular. I don't know if she still plays with Midwest United. Do you remember Stitch Curry
Oh
at
yeah.
all? She was,
Kicked our butts.
yeah, she was an absolute thorn in the City side. I don't think she's with them anymore. Although I'm not seeing her on their roster, thank God. But, I mean, last year was supposed to be the year that Midwest United took a step back and City was, going to be able to kinda get over that hump and beat them finally and, kinda move forward with the year, but that never happened. This year, though, the stakes are much higher. City has put them have played themselves in a position, um, to get a good result, especially coming back home. They're a better team. This is the best team probably in City women history.
For
Alan,
sure.
your thoughts heading into this weekend?
Well, just to let people know, in terms of the playoff situation, so for our division, there's 1.5 playoff spots. So the top of the table team goes into the regional playoff, and then it's between our division and the Heartland division. So whoever in the table for those two divisions has the best end of season results, that second team, so just one of the two second place teams goes into the playoffs. So there's just not a lot of margin there.
Nope.
And it's just like it's an unusual season in that previous last year and even the year before that, I think you sort of had a dominant team that just like ran the table and just like it was no beating them. So right now with the defeat tonight for Midwest United, everyone's dropped points. So it's wide open for
Yeah.
the three teams at the top. Uh, any one of the three can take it. But it's going to take solid performances like through the rest of the schedule. So there's not a lot. There's no opportunity at this point to drop points and expect to make the playoffs. So that's tough. I mean, we're
Oh
not
yeah,
talking about
absolutely.
one or two games. We're talking about 5 games or 6 games.
And you got to hand it to Dave Dwahey and his staff too for just given the amount of turnover with this roster, from week to week. And just how well they've been playing and heading into this weekend, I mean, I don't know if they really need to do anything different. Um, I mean, defensively, they've been sound. Um, Offensively, the only thing that you can ask for is to finish. But when you when you run into a hot keeper, I mean, you just got to kind of tip your hat to them.
Right.
There's really not a whole lot you can do about that. So heading into this weekend, and again, you with this particular team, a summer team with players who are, coming and going, have other commitments. It's like I said, it's hard to get a game plan together in your head when you don't quite know what that starting 11 or what that 18 is going to look like. Um, Other than you just have to you just have to think that, just keep on doing what you're doing.
Right.
Keep going with, keep up the pressure, keep up the press, continue to be sound defensively. You're facing a better team this week, a hungrier team this week in Midwest United. You got to come away with 3 points in that one, and that's all I can think about with it. I mean, otherwise, um, City in this spot right now has been solid. They've been solid with their goalkeeping. They've been solid on their back line. They've been solid at midfield. Um, They've been dangerous up front, and that's all you can really ask for. They run into a hot goalie, like I said, you just gotta
Right.
tip your hat to them. So if that happens again this weekend, what more can you say?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens Saturday because I'm sure this was unexpected. What happened tonight for Midwest United? They're not used to losing like that. Uh, I wouldn't have expected that to happen tonight. So it could make them even more dangerous on Saturday,
Yep,
given that they're under a lot of pressure now, a lot more than they were before tonight. So
absolutely.
um, yeah, I mean it should be good, and I I would expect that we will get 3 points against Michiano. Uh, but like I said, there's really no margin there. So, if things, it seems like I'm a little concerned with the travel games. You know, so far this season, we haven't seen the best of our squad away
Mhm.
from home.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna like say we're gonna slam dunk that team in South Bend, but I would expect that we should be able to get business done. And then just the last few games, fortunately, I think we've yeah, that away game against Midwest United. That's gonna be tricky. So again, so we play them twice at this point in the schedule, and you know, and both games are huge. So, but this Saturday is the first one. That's the first step. So, got to get it done.
Should we, do you wanna transition to the
Sure.
men's
Yeah,
side
for a
here?
bit. Yeah.
Kinda keep things moving forward. Men's side, getting a huge win, much needed win, last weekend against Providence, or not Providence, what am I thinking? Against Rhode Island FC. I'm mixed up in my leagues here. Um, 2-0 win, big, big, big win for them. First win since what, late April? I wanna say? First league win since
Yes.
late
Yeah,
April
for sure.
because they had the,
End of
because
April.
they
Yeah.
had they had the Open Cup win against the Dynamo. But, again, they needed that win. They needed all 3 points, coming into that one, against a team who, I mean, despite the record, Providence still tough, or I keep on calling them Providence. Rhode Island still tough. Um, Tough place to play as well. We saw Louisville go in there and come out with a, 0-0 draw a few weeks prior to that. So again, great results. Or we have Maxi, and was it Victor Bezerra who scored the
Yeah.
second one? Um, and then Ben Morris, to Jaime's delight, just had a massive game. Looked really, really good. Involved in both goals. And then the other big news coming out of that one, Elvis Amo comes in the second half after being out since what, the North Carolina game earlier in the year. I was shocked. I mean, I kind of heard that he was going to be coming back sooner than expected, which initially shocked me. I think what shocked me even more in that game was just how effective he was. Dude should have probably had a brace in that game. Came up with a big play earlier on when he subbed on, to intercept that bad pass and almost put in the back of the net. But Ellis Amo looked really, really good, all things considered. Um, what were your thoughts, Alan, on that win?
Yeah, I mean, it was really needed, uh, and I think that's going to re-energize the squad. It's re-energized the supporters. What we got a couple team of the week folks on
Yep.
out of that. So uh, really good stuff. I don't know that that Elvis will start
No, I
uh,
don't think he'll start either.
on Saturday, but I would expect him probably be a late sub again.
And
As he
that's
getting his fitness back, and but when he subbed in versus Rhode Island, it was impressive, and he's ready to go. Or, he probably more than what he should, but he certainly seems really really hungry. He's missed a lot of games, and I'm sure that was very frustrating for him. Uh, and what a boost that would be right now, going into this busy stretch of games, to have him back up front, uh, playing the system that Danny intended from the beginning of the season. Uh,
mhm.
the timing is good. I mean, the fact that he's even able to play at this point is impressive. The range of recovery for that kind of injury he had. You know, it would not be surprising if he was out another month beyond now. But he seems to be back, and as he's eased into the lineup again, we make sure that nothing goes goes sour in terms of his injury. As long as physios like giving him green lights and stuff, that that's a big boost.
Credit to the Detroit City training staff too to get him ready to go as quickly as they
Yeah,
did because I'm with you, Alan. I thought that um, given the nature of the injury and everything that we heard happen, um, and again, given his age too, he's in his early 30s. I mean, it's not like he's a 25-year-old,
right.
trying to come back from a groin injury. Um, by the sound of it, because they sent him home and everything, and it sounded like he was going to be out until like August,
Yeah,
um, and if not a little bit longer. But like you said, I mean, having him back and available for this upcoming stretch of games where City kind of makes up those games that they have in hand with some of these other teams, it's gonna be huge. It's just in time. It's a huge, huge development for City in that respect. Something else I wanted to get your thoughts on too, though, was Carlos Saldana, um, going in for Nate. Big spot for him was it was his first league start since coming over from City this past off season, and shuts down Rhode Island. Shuts him out, gets a clean sheet. Um, in what in some sense may have been a surprise for some supporters out there, considering Nate has been the go-to guy. Nate is the number one keeper. That's something that Danny said too in that Detroit News article that Nolan Bianchi wrote, that Nate still is the number one keeper. However, it's quite a message being sent to
yeah,
to the team that if you're not performing, if you're not playing well, then you can find yourself sitting that week.
yeah. It's definitely a
Which is
message,
exactly yeah, which is exactly
and
what we saw happen to Nate. So
let's see how he responds. I fully expect that it will motivate him. It won't distract him.
no,
Uh, and I think it does send a message to the rest of the squad that nobody's too important.
yep,
Uh, and I think that that's a good thing to establish, kind of
sure.
as a new coach. That he's his expectations are set. The bar is set high, And so, I mean, that was an indication of it. I think it's also an indication of how highly he rates Carlos.
Mhm.
Carlos followed him from Sacramento, and I think that they both have a lot of mutual respect for each other, and that's why he made that choice to come to Detroit. Both of them, that together.
Sure.
So, I would expect that Soldania, we may see him again here and there. I think he's a guy that's not just gonna want to be the number two guy. Uh, but for now, I think it seems like we have two starting quality goalkeepers, and that's
It seems
that's
like
that's a good
yeah.
thing to have.
Yeah, and I mean, Carlos is probably the best city backup we've had. Definitely the best city backup we've had since we've gone to championship. Um, I mean, at a point, I mean, well, during the COVID stretch, I mean, we had Gene Antoine, who ended up, going over and playing with Chattanooga. Um, but yeah, I mean, we never had an option like Carlos before. It's always been Nate, and then that's it, which is fine because Nate is still arguably the best keeper in USL Championship.
Right.
Um, but it's always nice to have a capable backup as insurance like Carlos. And like you said too, follow Danny over from Sacramento. Um, Danny knows the spots to put him in. And I think he knows him as a keeper. He knows what spots he can put him in and more than likely succeed, which is great. Um, I think you have some big decisions to make within these next couple of weeks. Um, because I again, I'm not the head coach. And obviously, Danny has way more knowledge in his big toe about soccer than I do in my entire brain. Um, I guess I don't know if I start Carlos this weekend against Charleston.
Mm,
I
yeah.
think you go with Nate because I think Carlos is going to get the start against Pumas. And
Yeah.
and
I
at
That
that
makes a
point you've
lot of
got to
sense. Yeah.
wonder, yeah, and at that point you got to wonder how long do you want Nate to sit? Because once you got a guy sitting that long, then you have to start to worry about him getting rusty. So I don't know. I probably start Nate this weekend, despite the strong showing that Carlos had in Rhode Island. But looking ahead to that Charleston game, though, it's another big spot for City. You've got
Right.
Caesar coming back into town. Um, a big 3 points is on the board, or for City in that respect, against a team that's ahead of them in the table. You can make up
Yeah.
ground and secure yourself a big win against one of the best teams in USL Championship. Not just the Eastern Conference, but in the entire USL Championship.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough one, and, I think I think our back line is probably gonna be more comfortable with Nate, just, familiarity and just, like, I would be very, very surprised if Nate wasn't starting, and like you said, with the friendly coming up, that's another opportunity to kinda put the spotlight on Carlos, so, yeah, I don't know what to expect. I mean, Charleston has dropped some points, but overall, they've been really good. So, and it's always going to be a tough one. So,
And
we have some opportunity, but I'm not sure how it's going to go.
yeah, I mean, you look ahead to at the shape that they're going to run and the players that could possibly find themselves in the starting 11. Again, team looks really, really good in Rhode Island. How that transitions to a better team with Charleston, I don't know, but there were some surprises other than what we saw at keeper, um, because you saw Matt Sheldon get a start, essentially for Michael Bryant, and he looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Um, you saw Levi's kind of reclaim his spot in the starting 11 as well. He looked good. And then you have Devin and Steven, kind of up the middle there, on the back line, which isn't isn't out of the ordinary. Um, but as far as that attack goes and what we see up top, Ali Coote didn't even travel with the team. So yeah, I gotta wonder what's going on with him. Is he going to be
That's
back
a
in the
big question
lineup?
mark. Yep.
And I tried to ask the team to this week to see kind of what was going on with that. They didn't give me any information on it. They just said that for the first time, um, we are enjoying basically a luxury of not having to have every single player travel with the team. Fair enough, but Ali Coote you know, was a mainstay in the starting 11 earlier on in the year.
Mhm.
Um, it's not like he is, the last guy on the roster. Because Daniel Espolita also didn't travel with the team, which is a little bit more understandable.
Right.
Um, Dominic Gasso didn't travel with the team. Again, a little bit more understandable. But a guy like Ali Coote, one of the bigger offseason acquisitions, doesn't travel with a team. That's gonna raise the eyebrows a little bit more. Uh, he wasn't listed on the injury report. However, during the broadcast, I believe they said that, he has been dealing with some minor knocks over the past couple of weeks. So,
Mm.
was this one of those instances where he, yeah, technically wasn't injured? He could have traveled with the team, but they saw an opportunity, which, again, I don't know how much of an opportunity it was, considering the team needed this win. Um, Maybe they saw an opportunity somewhere, that they could leave him behind in Detroit to, rest up a little bit more before coming back home and playing Charleston. So who knows? I'm going to be shocked if he's not at least rostered against Charleston.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean,
who
at that
knows?
point, you really have to start asking questions, whether
Sure.
there's, like, a real tactical issue, and, if he doesn't make the game day squad, then I think it would be reasonable to either find out what his health status is or if, it's not working out. So, I don't think we know enough at this point to say that,
Yeah.
but,
Oh yeah,
uh
definitely,
but
definitely.
again, against a conference opponent like Charleston with a lot riding on it. So, if you choose not to include a player like Allie in that situation, then there's reasonable questions that could be raised.
Sure, absolutely. And they're getting back to a form right now where they've they saw a lot of success when you had Ali, Elvis, and Maxi out there at the same time. Um, when the season started, that was one of the hotter kind of connections that we saw in the entire league. So you kind of hope they can get back to that, but
Yeah,
you
and it
can't
took
get
it
back to
took people by surprise too. They didn't see
yeah,
that coming. So yeah, it would
and you
be it would be great to recapture that kind of vibe.
and you can't get back to that if Ali doesn't play. So
Right.
but yeah, big game coming up this week, Charleston. It is the first of the doubleheader. The women are going to be playing. Was it 7 or 7:30? I think it's 7:30.
Yes, because I think
Yeah.
there's going to be a break between the games. There'll be some entertainment at Keyworth, so this is going to be a festival atmosphere.
Do you want to maybe look ahead at Pumas a little bit, or do you want to kind of, save that for next week?
Well, it should be a big game. You know, I would expect a little bit more hype to build up for that. Uh, it sounds like they're still selling tickets, which surprises me because I figure that game would sell out pretty quick. So I just haven't heard as much as I would have liked to leading into that game. So maybe it's just because there's a lot going on for the club, and this is just one other thing that's going on. But normally, even mid-season, an international friendly like that would be a big deal. And
Right.
so, I mean, the club is promoting it. They're sending the players out, especially on the Southwest side, to like talk to groups and stuff like that. So they are trying to drum up interest, but I'm a little concerned that maybe it's not getting the traction that maybe you would have expected. But I don't know. I'm just
This is a
there may be nothing. I don't know.
Pumas is a big side too. Pumas is a
Yeah,
big
they're
side.
they're huge.
Yeah, they're um one of the more well-known teams in Mexico. I believe they're what are they part of that big four? Um,
Yeah,
Pumas. Um, I don't know if it's a big four or not. But you have Pumas, you have Cruz Azul, you have Atlas, you have
Club America.
Guadalajara, Club America as well. So I mean, those are like the teams in Liga MX.
Right. I think their Apertura starts in August or something like that. I think. I noticed that too, and now I'm a little concerned. Maybe they just like kind of flying under the radar here with this game. It's like you know, I don't know if they got all their paperwork in order, but I didn't say it. Edit point. Edit point.
They have some Leagues Cups games coming up in July as well. But I mean, when they finish off the season, they kind of finish, sputtering a little bit. August since August 26th, they finished with 3 draws and a loss. An 0-2 loss to Cruz Azul. So again, who knows what we're going to see when they come to town. It's probably going to be a bunch of reserve guys. But
Right.
who cares though? It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's our first international friendly since 2019. Is that right?
Yeah,
Against
it's been a while.
when we beat another the other Liga MX side, Atlas, who went on to win the Liga MX title a few years after that. So again, it's going to be fun. It's great. It's awesome recognition for the club itself. Especially too, considering where this club is going to be going here in the next couple of years,
Right.
where they're kind of be opening up shop in Corktown, Southwest Detroit, with that, with a large Mexican Hispanic population that's there. So hopefully this
Right.
kind of opens the door to a little bit, to more of that exposure. Um, ahead of that, the big stadium and announcement that we had a few weeks ago, and that big move that's going to be coming up here in a couple of years. So I'm excited, Alan, just because it's going to be the first international friendly for City that I'm going to be able to take in person.
And that leads right into the broadcast news that we got from the league.
Awesome, awesome, awesome segue there, Alan.
It happens occasionally.
But yeah, like you were mentioning, big broadcast news, which I'm surprised it actually didn't get a lot more headway than it did. United Soccer League and Televisia Univision. Say we need Jaime on here tonight with with the Spanish because I'm not don't let the last name fool you. My Spanish sucks. I said in the chat the other day I have zero accent and I got a C in Spanish one. So yes, United Soccer League signing a big broadcast deal with TUDN throughout the remainder of the 2024 season. What do we have here? We have a handful of games that are going to be broadcast on that network. As far as city goes, what do we have? Two of them?
Yes.
Two of them,
So I think
October
there's
5th.
like 11 games, and we're going to be in two of them. One of them is a home game.
It looks like, well, we've got 12, including the USL Championship final on November
Right.
23rd. But like you were saying, Alan, yes, of the 11 regular season games, there are two city ones that are going to be broadcast. And of course, they had to get city in there because we are the face of the league, right? Um, October 5th, 4 p.m. in Charleston. And then we have the October 19th game at home against the Miami FC at 4 p.m. Um, Again, I thought that this is a big deal. All things considered, the big broadcast CBS national deal that they signed this past off season, which saw games and continues to see games. Well, for City, first of all, we have that local deal at CBS Detroit, but nationwide, league wide, we have the CBS national broadcast, and then we have the Galazzo broadcast as well, which is awesome. And then we see this on top of all of that. Um, First thing that pops into my mind, Alan, is, and I hope that this is the case, that USL is looking towards bigger things, not just within the league itself, but within the federation itself. What are your thoughts on the on this broadcast announcement and potentially bigger things down the road?
Yeah, I think this is a big deal, and people should be pretty excited about this. Whether you speak Spanish or not, this opens USL games to a whole new audience
Yes,
that probably has not had a lot of exposure to USL. You know, I think some of the Western teams may have had like local broadcast deals with various Spanish language television stations, but this is like a league wide thing. It's with us. It's the streaming. They're going to be streamed games, but basically, this is the same place that the Liga MX teams like. That's where they stream games. So, that it could be a very large audience that at least will have access to these games. So, it's quite a big deal. I think in Texas and California, uh, Western states, but pretty
mhm,
much all across the U.S. Uh, the profile of USL has just went up, and we're going to be
absolutely.
part of that.
Yep.
So that's cool as hell.
Yeah, and like you mentioned too, I mean, Liga MX games appear on this network, which again, you can't help but make those juxtapositions. You can't help but make those comparisons with what MLS is doing right now with the Leagues Cup and how controversial that is when it comes to US soccer in general, with what we've seen, and what we've seen this past year with them using that as, justification to kind of, try to put the US Open Cup on its head.
Yeah.
Um, but is this one of those instances? Because we've seen what US soccer has allowed MLS to do and what MLS has continued to do, and informing this this partnership with Liga MX and the Leagues Cup and everything like that, and how that gets MLS a foothold, or a foot in the door with Mexico, and how USL was lagging behind in that until now.
Right.
This gets USL potentially, more eyeballs on it south of the border in Mexico, and um, it was definitely cool. I mean, even looking back a few weeks ago, after the Open Cup game against Houston, when um, the Spanish language stations came in and they were interviewing Maxi and they were interviewing Carlos in Spanish. That was really cool to see. And you kind of want to you want to see more of that. Again, especially too, considering where City is headed, where they're headed in the city itself. They're heading to Southwest Detroit. Massive Mexican Spanish population there. Um, so yeah, this is big, not just for the league as a whole, but city as a whole too, considering
Right.
the eyeballs that are going to be on them at home here in a couple of years. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see. I'm and still one of my favorite city calls ever was the ESPN Deportes broadcast a couple of years ago.
Right.
Um, Pato to Antoine against Birmingham United. I loved it. I loved it. I want to hear the goal calls and everything like that. Um, because the Mexican announcers are on an entirely different level, in my opinion. Hearing Mexican announcers as compared to anybody else, it's not even a comparison. They the excitement that they put into it is just like I said, next tier. So I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to witness it. I can't wait to watch it. So I don't know. Do you have anything else to add, Alan, tonight?
Just real quick, another broadcast deal was also announced that
Oh yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
didn't get a lot of attention, but is potentially a big deal. The new USL Super League Women's First
Mhm.
Division league, which rolls out this August.
Yep.
Those games are all the games are going to be on Peacock.
Wow.
So, again, that's a big platform. Many people have that. Premier League games are on Peacock.
Yeah, yeah. Only the
You
biggest
know,
only the
so
biggest league in the world is on Peacock.
so so the fact that USL is finding major media deals uh,
Mhm.
definitely speaks to their ambition right now in raising the profile of not just the championship but all the leagues. Uh, so uh, I'm not even sure I was even thinking about broadcast as this new league was rolling out. I think it was a question of like who's actually going to be in this league, and teams,
Yeah.
all these new teams, and et cetera, and then to kind of drop that on there that oh yeah, we've got a broadcast deal out of the gate. That's the kind of level. If you're going to have a first division, you got to have stuff like that. So it's a good sign that they worked it out and that'll be in place. So if you're talking about these new teams getting traction, you got to have something like that, and so they do, and that's good news.
And Alan, that's always been kind of, and I'm kind of venturing away from soccer here, but that's kind of always been the problem with these upstart leagues, is finding broadcast deals. Especially now. Like you don't have a broadcast deal now and you're a professional league, then you're dead. There's 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 no point in I don't wanna say there's no point. I don't wanna be dystopian and hopeless like that, but you put yourself at a massive disadvantage if you don't have, you know, broadcast rights on the table to get your product out there to soccer fans, sports fans,
Right.
whatever it is, whatever sport that you're looking to, to broadcast. I mean, look at NISA. Look at NISA as I mean, there's obviously a multitude of different problems with NISA, but one of those problems with NISA, when you compare it to League One, both third division in the United States, one of the biggest problems that NISA had was they didn't have a suitable broadcast partner.
Right.
Yes, they are on BN Sports sometimes, but that's when City was in it. So BN had more of a reason to broadcast some NISA games when they were still um, uh, teams worth watching in the league. I mean, then you had Detroit, you had Oakland, you had Chattanooga. I mean, three big, credible teams right there that is going to attract some of those, broadcasters. Um, but after that, I mean, NISA was stuck being broadcast on My Cujo, and then it was 11 Sports, and then they tried to come up with, or then they do like FIFA Plus, where you couldn't even find the games on that streaming platform,
Right.
and then they tried to
Yeah.
do their own streaming service, which I don't even know if that's still a thing right now. But seriously, how do you go and tune into NISA games as a third division professional league? You really can't.
Right.
Um, so I mean, that's why again, and NISA is on life support right now. I mean, the federation you would think can pull the plug on them at any time.
Right.
Um, I mean, then you look at the women's side, the Super League. Yes, where were they going to broadcast? Were they going to be on ESPN Plus, which would have been fine, but no, they
Mhm.
go and get on Peacock. They're on Peacock being broadcast alongside Premier League games. Um, because again, they're going to be following the same schedule that the Premier League is doing. So
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
when you're sitting there tuning into, so when Alan is sitting there tuning into Man City take on Liverpool at 9 a.m. in the morning, are we, or the later game that day at noon, are we going to be getting some type of double header leading into a Super League game? That's
Yeah.
huge.
Are
That is
are
massive.
are we gonna see Rebecca Lowe dropping promo spots during Premier League games, half times,
Yes.
for USL Super League games in the evening? I mean, it's just like, again, like a whole new audience that could get
It-
established. And so USL has a relationship now with CBS,
yep.
Televisa, and now NBC.
Yep. And ESPN.
And the existing relationship from ESPN, because the games are still streamed there. So and we will be on the broadcast channels too. So
Yeah.
that's that's putting your chips on the table, to not all in one spot. And
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense, I think. So, for whatever issues USL has, at least on the broadcast side, it seems like they're getting the work done.
Yeah. And it's good to see too, considering because where are NWSL games broadcast now? Is it CBS also? Because I thought they were on
Yes,
Paramount.
yeah, yeah, on Paramount Plus mainly,
Yep.
but then
So
like the occasional, and I think they have a maybe one or two other partners, but yeah, so it'll be an equivalent deal.
yeah. And again, you wonder what that's gonna you again, like we were mentioning about the Spanish language broadcast deals with this one too. You just wonder what's coming up down the road, considering the the uneasy footing I think this federation is on right now. Um, when you look at, and for some reason I have my Siri going off right now, so I'm gonna kind of move into the other room here. But and we're almost done anyway for the night. But again, you wonder where this is going to kind of lead to with everything else. And I talked about that uneasy footing that the Federation really is on, in my opinion. considering what they've been allowing with the Open Cup and MLS and so on and so forth. So, and then you've got the lawsuit still pending with uh, with Rocco and what was that? Who was that league? The NASL. And so, I mean, who knows what's happening? Who knows what USL is lining up to do here? Um, but it's exciting. It's exciting. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yep.
But anything else, Alan, for tonight?
Think that should do it. We'll see folks at the game on Saturday. Games, 2 games.
Yep.
So it'll be a great day, and hopefully we'll get 6 points.
6 points. Real quick for me, again, Pride Raiser, ngs.prideraiser.org. Make sure you get your pledges in. Pledges. You can continue to make your pledge and modify your pledge up through June 30th. And
Cool.
or get those pledges in there. Um, Again, over on our website 451 at themajorsports.com. You can pick up everything there, everything that we do, videos, the mulletings, podcasts, articles, all types of shit there. So make sure you go check it out. But also 451 DET on Twitter. So follow us, like, subscribe to the stream here and the podcast on all of our platforms. So, anything else from you,
Smash that
Alan?
like button.
Yes, smash the like button, smash it, share it, comment. But that's it.
Cool.
All right. Well, have fun, everybody. We'll see you this weekend.
Peace.